I'm James Whitehouse.
I'm Hannah George.
And you're watching the TV Writers Podcast.
Hosted by Gray Jones, the TV Writer Podcast is brought to you by Script Magazine and ScriptMag.com, the leading source for script writing information in print and on the web. This is Gray, and I'm here with UK writing team James Whitehouse and Hannah George. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
Thanks.
How are you?
Doing really well, and actually, this is incredibly exciting. Not only because you guys are in the UK, but I mean, I haven't interviewed UK writers before, but a writing team. We don't get to see too many writing teams together on the podcast, so this is quite neat. And I know there are a lot of people who are interested in writing with a partner and would love to know more about that. So this will be really, really cool. Just before we get into you writing together as a team, I'd love to hear kind of about you individually. Do you want to start with James? When did you know that you wanted to be a writer? Bring us up to speed to when you got to meet Hannah.
I'm not really sure when I knew I wanted to be a writer. I knew that I wanted to go into films in some respect. From university onwards, but I'd always loved film, and I'd always loved TV and theatre as well, actually, from being a kid. So I always had that kind of burning passion, not just to watch it, but to do it, if that makes sense. But I didn't actually kind of know that I wanted to write it as opposed to kind of direct it or act in it, which I kind of played with as well for a while until, at least after university, but probably a few more years after that, when I experimented with doing some different things in the industry and in various different capacities. So I kind of started, it was a few years before I met you, I think, that I started actually sort of writing some bits and, just sort of learning the craft, as it were. And, I worked for a few different people, wrote some scripts for a few different people, but nothing particularly that came to, the screen or anything like that. So I now kind of consider that more of my learning time rather than my sort of productive industry time, as it were. But I don't consider it a waste of time. I think I was busy learning my craft, which is now invaluable. Otherwise, we'd be able to,
And I learned quite a lot from James, so that was great. It's been all those years. I went to uni and did a really stupid degree, and then came back, and James taught me how to write. Essentially, it was great.
Cool. Now, Hannah, though, you've done a ton of stand-up.
Yeah, quite a lot. I did it for several years. I started when I was about 19, and then I do it every so often now. Sometimes I get booked to sort of do
mainly when we're writing.
Yeah. But sometimes I get booked to play festivals, and you just get free tickets to festivals. And sometimes I'll sort of reel out the old jokes. I have like one set that I just keep doing. But I think when I realised that I kept doing the same material and I didn't really produce anything new, but with writing, we produce new stuff all the time, don't we? We're really, really sort of prolific.
Very prolific.
And I realised with stand-up I wasn't really being as prolific as I could be. And I don't really do it much anymore. But that's because we live on the Isle of Wight, which is just like, it's far away from everything. It's like an island off the south coast of it's
an island far, far away.
Yeah, it is. And there's I'm the comedy scene on the Isle of Wight. There is no comedy scene. It's literally just me.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult. And career-wise, I think if you want to be a stand-up, you have to really, really want it. And I think for several years at the beginning, when I was doing hundreds of shows a year, I really, really wanted it. But I don't know, after a while, I think I kind of started not to want it as much, and the writing was going well. So I kind of thought, we'll just kind of focus on the writing and kind of try and be really, really good at writing rather than okay at stand-up and okay at writing. I just want to be really good at one thing.
Very cool. And so you started writing some things on your own before meeting James, or How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, we knew each other. We've known each other for about 8 years, so that's a massive teacup.
Coffee.
Whoa, look at that.
That's my size.
Actually, that's partly the wide-angle lens.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't tell her that, it was for the whole day.
Yeah.
Actually, we've only got water in these, but I only had wine glasses.
Well, now my water is
nice.
really big. But...
You're really prepared.
Yeah.
He's done this before.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the question was. What's the question?
Had you written before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little bit, but more kind of comedy stuff. And a lot of the stand-up, obviously you have to write a lot of stand-up. And I've written a couple of, I wrote a nativity play when I was in sixth form. I mean, it wasn't my original idea, the nativity, but I kind of, did my own version of that. And that's where I really thought, I like writing and I like comedy. And I'd done bits and bobs. And my degree was kind of to do with script writing. So obviously I had to do stuff to do with that. But I definitely think I wrote my best stuff when I met James. And again, sort of starting to learn some of the tricks that you'd been teaching yourself that I came along and snaffled.
Cool. So tell me then, so you had already known each other for a few years. When did you realize that you wanted to write together? Did you just start to put some things together and say, this is actually working really well, or how did that work?
That was an odd one, actually, because Hannah did a final dissertation piece at college, which was like
it's a sketch show.
It's a little sketch show, comedy sketch show. Mm-hmm. And she sort of just called me in actually to direct that. So not really to do much writing.
I essentially cheated on my degree because James did
She's going out.
I know, right? No, it was fine. But you edited it as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We did a little bit of work on the script together, actually, oddly enough.
I think we realised that we could work together. And I think what was really important was having the kind of basis in friendship, having known each other for 4 years or something, and you'd sometimes come over and we'd hang out at uni and stuff. And I think really after we worked together making that sort of short sketch show, I moved back to the island after uni knowing I wanted to become a writer, because obviously you don't go to uni and come out and go like, I think I'll be a writer now. It takes a lot of kind of sacrifice, I guess. And I guess as much as I love the island, and I think we both do, it's a slight sacrifice living here. But that's what we kind of had to do. And James just lived he lived 20 minutes down the road from me. You wanted to write as well, and we get on very well. Yeah, both in the same boat, weren't we? Really?
Yeah. And I think the first time we actually broached it was I think it was after that sort of show was on.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in a restaurant and just literally said, "Look, we should write something. What should we write?"
It was a beautiful moment.
And we just came up with, I think you had one idea and I had one idea, and we kind of developed both of them in parallel. And then we kind of wrote one first and then wrote the other. But I think straight away, there was a recognition of kind of talent and quality and commitment. Mm-hmm.
We were both,
I think that's quite important, actually. If you're talking about, getting into a writing partnership with someone in particular, I think, you got to be really careful, actually, with that, who you pick, I think, because I've had a couple that haven't worked out before.
We didn't talk about it.
No, we don't speak of it. We didn't speak of it, but...
It's like Voldemort. You don't want to say the name.
You said it.
Oh no!
It's worse than Voldemort. But no, I mean, I think there needs to be a kind of a recognition of equal talent. And this is just me vamping, so... Yeah, equal talent, though. I thought I was being very kind there, but...
I think that also what you say about commitment as well is like... And you've got to both be as ambitious as each other as well. Because I think we're both really ambitious. Yeah. And if you've got one person in the writing partnership that's kind of like, Yeah, no, I like writing, but I also kind of, I don't mind my job in the pub or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to, like, when we first started writing together, I was working part-time in a bank. James was working part-time teaching Pilates. Pilates.
Oh, wow.
And,
you never tell now. It's
but yeah, so we were both in jobs that we just, we thought we wanted to get out of, basically. And
actually, both of us had taken that type of job, despite having quite good degrees, because we wanted to focus on, that
we worked
kind
a
of
lot of
creative work to get
evenings,
into it.
and stuff.
Because I don't think, some people may do it. I always found that it was to have a sort of good job, if you like. I found it very hard then to be able to put the time and the energy and the sort of creative thought into really giving, something like writing a go.
Yeah.
So I'd deliberately taken, I'd had that kind of job years before when I was a lecturer, and actually lecturing is hard in itself, and it takes a huge amount of time in itself. So I actually came out of that and went into just having my own little Pilates
jobs
business.
that you don't have to take your work home with you, which they really frown upon in the bank.
And your brain too. I know if in jobs that engage your brain, it can tire out your brain by the end of the day.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I made so many mistakes at the bank, and I think it was. but also at the same time, I think weirdly now we write full time. It's a bit of, we try and go out and we work in cafes and we work in restaurants, or we work sort of out and about, because otherwise we just see each other and it would just drive us crazy. Because at the bank, although it was boring, I had all my colleagues who I really liked and they were really good fun, and all the people.
Stop crawling.
Yeah, I know. I just like they're going to watch.
They're never going to watch this.
Yeah, I know. So I hated them all. No, actually, they were great. But all of the people would what are they called? The
customers.
Yeah, I was going to call them audience.
To you, they were.
Yeah, but all the customers coming in, there's so many different characters, and I've used so many, and so many names as well. The names you see, like there was a guy called Gordon Organ. I mean, that's totally confidential, but actually I haven't told you what bank, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of miss that. So I think that's what we try and do is get out and.
But also, I think if you're working, all day, every day as we do, and we really do, we generally don't take even weekends off or anything. Particularly if you've got something on, we will work every day. I think you need a change of scene, and so instead of locking ourselves up in an office or one of our houses, we tend to actually just kind of, as Hannah said, go out and we'll work in a coffee shop. Coffee shops are great, actually. If you can find ones that will tolerate you that much.
By one cup of tea and sit there. I don't think they like us as much as we think they do.
Now tell me, because my own experience with a partnership, we had the talent thing going on, and actually one thing I find with a lot of writing partners is one will be really strong in something and complement what the other is weaker in, and we had that, and we were racing, but what killed us was the long-term goals. So we were working very well together. We had a great relationship. We'd known each other for a long time, but then I wanted to go to Hollywood and he wanted to stay in Canada, and all of a sudden it created a lot of friction that if we had worked that out in the beginning, we might have known to just avoid the relationship altogether. How important is it? And what were your long-term goals? Did you know that you wanted to write television together, or was it just writing together and writing anything?
I think we're more flexible than that.
Yeah, I think it was a case of writing together and writing anything.
And it's in a sense, even now, I think we do see where it takes us and where the next job comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We can't we're not in a position that we can really pick and choose yet.
No.
So, maybe when we get to pick and choose, that'll be a little bit more, I don't know, maybe that's where the tension will come. Maybe. Yeah, exactly. We'll probably fight to the death is probably what we'll do.
I think if we got an opportunity to go to Hollywood, we probably would though.
No, absolutely. We think in terms of long dream-like goals, I think we definitely, the sky's the limit. We both really, really want to just do, as big and as much as possible.
Absolutely. But that's. I think that's probably, the thing is that I don't think we've been as fixed as saying, well, like only Hollywood or only London or
Yeah,
if a job comes up and we want to do it and it's good for us, we'll just kind of have a chat about it, make sure we're okay, and then just do it. I think. We don't tend to fuss about that sort of stuff.
No, not really. And when we write our own stuff, because obviously we get a lot more choice with our own stuff, we can do anything. We tend to. I'm more into comedy. I love comedy. That's kind of my thing. And I don't know, what's more your thing? I haven't asked.
I mean, I suppose I like. I suppose sci-fi, good drama. But I do like comedy as well.
Because we do a lot of comedy drama, which kind of complements both our kind of skill set, because you've maybe got a more dramatic mind, and maybe I prefer sort of comedy and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know, you see, because I think that was more true at the start.
Yeah.
And now I'd actually say that you're, in terms of actual sort of writing. Although, I mean, you're more specialist in comedy.
Funnier.
I'm trying to say that, but,
I'm kidding.
I think we've learned a lot from each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, for example, although Hannah's saying comedy for her, the most recent script that we sold is actually an adult drama. And that was a good idea.
It was, yeah.
So we sold before that. We sold a sitcom that was originally my idea, and we worked. So it's
that's true.
It's not really, I don't think.
And the
quite
other
as
sitcom
clean
was your
cut
idea,
as,
wasn't it, at the very beginning?
Which
Lifeboat's one.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay. I thought you meant the States.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the work a little bit. So when you first started writing together, what was your first big sale?
The sale was My Secret Success, which is a kids,
which ironically is still secret because but that was a kids comedy drama.
Drama, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was that the Nickleodeon one?
No. That was it was picked up by Jellylegs, which is Craig Cash's company, who is in the royal family, if you ever saw that over there.
He's not in the actual royal family of England. He's like, there's a show called The Royal Family.
I don't know if you guys heard that over there.
But we both always watched that, and we went and met Craig because he really loved the script. And they took an option out on it for 2 years because they were so behind this script. And it was so nice for us, wasn't it? It was before we had an agent. I just happened to meet their development producer, and she agreed to read the script, and we went through a long time of the catch-22 situation of not having an agent, but not having any producers. So no one would read our stuff because we didn't have an agent, and no agent would look at us because we didn't have anything. And then suddenly I met this woman and she loved it, and so that was great. So that was our first kind of break into the industry, and what eventually got us our agent as well, which obviously is just
that changes
everything, really. Yeah.
And from there, did you get work on television right away, like a series, or was there more of your own projects that were sold?
No, it was a little. How quickly did we get from?
I don't know. It was about after we sold that.
A year, wasn't it?
It was about a year, and we wrote another.
We were still
show.
writing our own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think 2 of those got optioned. 2 other projects got optioned.
Okay. Yeah.
And we still haven't had our own sort of show yet. That's hopefully the next thing we want to happen, because I think there's only one script we've written together that hasn't been optioned. Yeah. So it's kind of, we know, I guess we're doing something right.
Yeah.
But after that, it's kind of like, it's just about if it's the right time, it's the right company, it's the right show. And
even if you're a good writer and you're working in the industry and your scripts are selling, the difference between that and actually getting a commission for your own material is quite big, and I think it's that's not necessarily dependent on whether you're just a good writer and a saleable writer. It's, as Hannah said, it's just dependent on whether it's the right project at the right time, and
we're hoping for the right time really soon.
So
yeah. Now, just a couple of questions, just because the industries are a little different from between there and here. When you're speaking about options, you're talking about television that's being optioned?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's very interesting, just for my viewers, because primarily my viewers are in the US and Canada, and here features are optioned, but television is never optioned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's just such a massive number of projects going on that they just say yes or no, and they'll even actually produce a pilot, and test them out. But you don't hear about options in that respect.
Well, yeah, no. Well, for us, it's kind of that seems to happen. Just quite a lot. That if a company likes our script, then we'll meet them and they'll give us X amount of money for X amount of time, usually a year, and they'll sort of essentially pimp our script out. Because I think it's because the industry doesn't quite work in the same way, whereby they're not making pilots all the time, and there isn't this huge amount of money that they can throw at things. It's kind of, I think, development is something that's quite, I don't know, it seems to be a lot tighter here.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's a good sign if you're selling getting scripts optioned, even, because there's not a lot of money just to chuck at options. Like in radio, like I've written some radio stuff, and people don't option stuff in radio because there's just not enough money. But with TV over here, they option quite a lot. Which is I don't know. I guess it's nice, isn't it? Because it means that it's great. Because I mean, the way that works, I guess, is similar to films over there in that it's an indication that that company is at least taking that script seriously, because obviously they're not going to give you money for it unless they're going to have unless they believe in it enough to have a real genuine go at developing that and trying to get it commissioned at least. So companies really have to believe that it has a chance of getting commissioned at least. She option it, and in fact, we never sold a script to anyone that didn't believe it obviously had a chance. So that would be stupid. It would be a waste of money.
Well, the nice thing I see about that is that the project is still in play. Here, what tends to happen is when something is rejected, it can just die. Completely die, and unless it's somebody's kind of pet project or something like that. There's just so many being pitched all the time and so many being written all the time that if you miss the boat, you miss the boat.
Right. Okay.
Wow. I don't know what the sort of.
I don't know what the statistics are here. I mean, obviously, there's thousands of scripts being written a year.
But I think as well is it kind of depends. Oh, it's my dog. It kind of depends.
Hello.
I'm trying to see him. Come here. There's my dog. Oh, come on, Belsky. Oh,
he's usually very keen to get in the shop.
Yeah, no, it's not. Sorry. He's just going to sit here and watch. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
I think
also, I think at the time when we first sold My Secret Success, it was, we were completely and utterly unknown. And that's why it was so nice of the company it was so nice of the company to option it because, we were completely unknown. Yeah. And so I think that when they took it to CBBC, which is the children's BBC thing over here, they didn't know who we are. But now we've written 6 episodes of Wolfblood, which has been a really successful show for them. We've written 5 episodes of the House of Anubis, which is on Nickleodeon. We've just written 3 episodes of another CBBC show. So, we're becoming more of a known quantity and more of a safe pair of hands, I suppose. And I don't know how long it will, that we have to do that for us, because compared to some people that have been in the industry a lot longer and still haven't had their own shows, we realise that, we may have a long time to wait, but we're both quite impatient as well, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of thing does happen here in the sense that somebody who's not a proven quantity will virtually never. I mean, it does happen, but it will virtually never be entrusted to start a show. There's a show called Stargate Atlantis. One of the writers on that had a project 10 years before, and it wasn't until he had proven himself with several seasons of writing that show that he pulled it out and said, "I've got this." It wasn't a case that it was optioned; he had to just have it in his drawer. Yeah. But once he was a proven quantity, he was able to bring it out and sell it.
Yeah. That's what I kind of feel
like. We've got projects like that.
Yeah, 5 or 10 years' time. Hopefully they'll make everything we've ever written.
Because it's all brilliant, obviously. So.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, tell me a bit about some of the series work you've done. And now, you guys write on the Isle of Wight for shows like Wolfblood? You don't actually travel to the location where they're...
Well... the way it's been done here with the BBC, and I think this is fairly common on most shows, is that you...
Sorry, the dog is scratching. Stop
mental. They will usually call you in for story meetings. So, and there's no sort of fixed amount, but when they feel that you need to sort of storyline, a block of a season or a couple of episodes or work on some particular sort of aspect of the show, you get together with the other writers, not on the Isle of Wight, but usually in London or Manchester these days. With
yeah,
BBC.
or Liverpool. Like with the House of Anubis,
Liverpool.
it was 40 episode series.
Yeah.
So
wow.
we'd go,
That was huge.
Very, very big. So for 8 weeks, we went up every week to Liverpool for a couple of days, and we'd storyline maybe 5 episodes a day or something.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
It was a block a day.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. But that's nice because it is nice to work with other writers as well.
Yeah.
And I think because we collaborate every single day, those meetings are quite fun and quite easy for us.
It's probably easier for us.
Yeah, just because other writers will just be on their own and kind of haven't seen daylight for
But I think they probably don't have to sort of... we kind of... because we bounce ideas off each other all the time and discuss everything all the time, it's not a dissimilar process to being in a writer's room anyway.
Although on Wolfblood, there was another writing partnership. The lady that created it, she writes on her own. And then it was us, and then another writing partnership.
This is on season 2.
Yeah, on season 2. Yeah, and that was quite fun.
Yeah.
But when we were looking at the other writing partnership, thinking, how do they do it? Like they're such an odd couple together, and they were thinking, I think, the same as us. And
I'm sure they were.
I think that's what every meeting we've ever been to, they're just like, we don't understand how it works with you and James, like because we're quite different.
But don't you think you need to be a slightly odd couple?
Yeah. If we were completely and utterly the same, then it would be.
Well, I mean, you can still work, but I think both of us do bring different things to the table. So, for example, if there's anything kind of like technical or scientific or something in a script, I've just got a lot of random knowledge about that.
Or if something needs spelling as well. That's what he said. Yeah. But he's essentially like the spell check I give half the money to.
That's really fun.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fascinating the differences between, because I'm here in Canada and then I interview a lot of writers in Hollywood, and there's big differences in how the processes work. In Hollywood, it seems like for almost all of them, there's one building and all the writers come to work every single day, and they meet together in the writer's room. They break the stories together, then they go off in the afternoon and write their scripts. In Canada, it's a little more like what I'm hearing from you about the UK, in that there's a process at the beginning where the storylines will be worked out. Sometimes they'll even bring in other writers who won't actually work on the show to help with the development of what's going to happen in that season. And then once all that is done, then the writers they're still at the office, but they're not breaking in a room every day together. They go off and write all their scripts. It sounds like it's almost like the graph is a little extended further with you guys, that all that breaking is done together, and then you pretty much go your separate ways, except for story meetings that you come in for.
Well, you sometimes have further story meetings, but generally speaking, once you've been given your stories to go and write, or your scripts to go and write, you then do a first draft, and then you send that into the script editor and the production office, and they will then give you notes on that, and you then do a second draft, and it's a very kind of. And
then after that, you kind of rarely see them again.
Yeah, but you often have phone conversations about.
We're writing on a show at the moment. We've never met the producer, have we?
No, that's unusual.
Yeah, that is really unusual. But
and what's fascinating is, at least from here looking towards the UK process, is it really comes across as much more like feature writing for us.
Yeah. I don't think. I think that's true. I think if you wrote a feature, it wouldn't be that dissimilar to that.
In that you get sent away and you don't write it with a bunch of people. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then you do drafts.
Yeah, I think as well, the whole writer's room thing, I just don't think you can afford it in British TV. No. I think on the House of Anubis, they were thinking of having a thing where all the writers were writing the scripts in the same room every day. But I don't know why they didn't do that, but I think it's probably to do with money, because to pay all of those people to be in the room all the time when you could just pay a couple of people or a single person to go away and write the script and not have to give them tea and biscuits, then, it gets pretty expensive.
Yeah, and also, actually, I mean, I think that's true. But also from the writer's point of view, I mean, when they were thinking about doing the writer's room process, it did run through our heads, can we do that show? Because we didn't know what else would come up in that time.
Yeah,
if you're in a writer's room situation, you can't really do any other work whilst you're on that show. But that writing process might take 6 months. So that's a huge chunk in which time other projects you might be asked to work on, or you might have your own stuff that gets picked up or something. So in a way, it seems like the system that we generally tend to have over here, at least, is a little bit more flexible in terms of a working writer, I guess, because you can juggle a couple of projects at least, or if something important comes up, you can kind of, work a deadline fast and then go and do something else. But that's just a thought, really. I haven't.
Well, I do think it's interesting, and also interesting how, for instance, you guys have a series 1, series 2. There's just a slightly different way of thinking than here. It's episodes of, but if it's a 5-season show, they're not as self-contained in that sense. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, it's just an like, say if there's 100 episodes, it's just episode 1, 2, 3, episode 45, episode 76, but not series 1, series 2, series 3.
Oh, right. It's no season. Is it season? I know the seasons are really long, aren't they, in America? Because our series, like, of a comedy show or like a drama, tend to be like 6 episodes, which I think, like, in America, people are like, 6? What do you mean 6? Nothing.
Yeah.
But in kids' TV, it's like 13 episodes, which is kind of getting a little bit longer. But yeah, no, and the idea of kind of, I don't know, you think, as a British writer, I think you think in terms of 6 episodes. You think, right, we're writing a series, let's see what we can do in 6 episodes. And then that's why I think that...
By the way, that took me some time to adjust to, because I was used to watching... long American seasons of shows, because I just kind of happen to like a lot of American style drama and sci-fi and stuff. And although I've watched British stuff, I'd never quite clocked the fact that there were only 6 episodes in a series, and that is a little bit of a shock, actually, because it's sometimes you'd think it would be difficult to have enough story to fill 23 episodes or whatever, but actually I think as a writer a lot of the time it's quite hard to distill a hell of a lot of ideas that you have.
I do that the other way as well, because I watch a lot of British drama, and so I'll be watching American drama, and after 6 episodes, I'll be like, that ended really abruptly. That's not what ending. I did that in Homeland. I watched 6 episodes, and then I thought, well, is he a spy? I don't know. Like, genuinely, and I can't be bothered to get back into it now, but it was a great series. But it is, it's a different way of... I just watched Prison Break because I was ill like last month, and I watched Prison Break back to back, and like... It was the kind of thing that I think in 6 episodes would have all happened too fast. So it was nice that it could spread out over 20 hours or however long I watched.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to do a slightly different thing, I think, because, if you think of a series potentially like Lost, or a show like Lost, which I loved in the earlier seasons, it kind of allowed them to sort of really tease out the mystery, just give you a little nugget of that each time, just enough to keep you interested. But while they were going into really quite huge depth, because they had like 22 episodes to play with. Yeah. One of the brilliant things about that, I think, is it allowed them to get so much character moments in there. So you knew those characters quite intimately at the end of season 1, because of the flashbacks and things that they've been able to do for each character out of quite a large cast. And I think you'd had at least 2 episodes for each kind of main character by the end of season 1 of that.
Yeah.
Now you could never do that in a British series, not to the same degree.
Yeah,
You just don't have enough
also,
episodes.
I think they tend not to option actors for as long over here as well, because I don't think they have the money to do it.
Right.
So, in the sense that with Lost, you would have optioned, I imagine, all those characters for 3 series or something. But
being attacked by the dog.
Basti, come on. Don't be an idiot.
He's decided to come and join us.
He's coming to join us. That's a good... Yes. He'll shut up soon, I'm sure. But yeah, I can't remember what were we talking about?
It's the length of series, and you're saying about options for actors.
Oh yeah. But it's quite different here. But I think something like that's always appealed to us is working in the States. But it would be I think it would be a bit of a learning curve. But we're learning all the time, aren't we? Really, which is well, I think that's part of the fun of being a writer, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, it's been really great to work on a sort of diverse set of shows. And I mean, oddly enough, the one thing we never set out to write overtly was kids stuff, really.
Yeah.
The opportunity came up, and we wrote for it, and we seemed to be, but we never actually set out to do that. And so
House of Anubis was Nickelodeon, but it was written there in the UK.
Yeah, I don't know the exact history of that. You can get rid of the dog.
Yeah,
I don't know the exact history of it, but I'll tell it as best as I understand it, and then just have to forgive me if I've got it slightly wrong. But as I understand it, the concept for that show was originally was it Belgian?
I think so.
Belgium? Yeah. And it was a big hit there, and Nickelodeon bought into that show. But I think it was quite weird in later seasons because, as I understand it, the 2 shows ran concurrently.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but the Belgian guys still had kind of story rights in the American version. So when we were writing and we wrote on season 3, you would get notes from from Nickelodeon in America and from the guys in Belgium.
Interesting.
Yeah, which was interesting. I mean, fortunately for us, we didn't really have to deal with those direct notes. We had a very good script editor, and she kind of just dealt with those people and a producer, and they then just kind of distilled that into notes for us to work on, and that obviously made life for us, a lot easier, because obviously if you're getting notes from all different places, it can be quite hard sometimes. But yeah, so it was
but that was fun. That felt really collaborative, just because we kind of, like I say, we went up 8 times over about sort of 8 weeks, or maybe like 3 months or something.
Yeah.
Now, it seems like lately there's been a lot of UK shows that have been imported and remade in the States. I mean, everything from The Office to House of Cards to tons of stuff. Is that on your minds as you're working on a series that this might be redone later, or that just is not connected to what you're doing?
I think in a way, you always kind of think, it would be good to.
Yeah, I think it's always. I'm not sure it's something you aim for, because it's too nebulous a thing to aim for. But yeah, I mean, we do talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're coming up with an idea, we'll always try to make it, appealing, and in the first instance, appealing to an audience.
And weirdly, like didn't we? Because we're working on a thing at the moment whereby it's kind of based in and around the NHS, which is obviously something we have here in England. That in America, it's a lot different. The kind of the health service, and we were kind of thinking, we might not be able to do an American version of this. You don't have the same problems, and it would be covered by an insurance and all of this. And that one, I think, it certainly doesn't stop us.
I don't think it matters actually in
all.
the final analysis. But the point is that we thought about it.
Right, so it is on your minds.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to be able to buy an island, you never stop thinking that would be pretty awesome.
We want our media empire before.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus.
And now I'm also curious because we do see a lot of UK writers here in Toronto. But do you see American and Canadian writers come to work with you, or?
It's weird because, like we say, we're kind of on our own quite a lot. So when we actually see people, it tends to be just on the shows we've worked on, and maybe there's 4 shows or something. So it's kind of, but on the House of Anubis, for example, they bring in an American writer to kind of punch it up and Americanize it and. Stuff like that, but we never actually met her because she. I follow her on Twitter. That's as far as our relationship goes.
Yeah,
but I don't think. No, I mean I wouldn't say generally that it's something we've noticed as a feature of.
No, I guess not. But there are certain shows they'll bring in a showrunner because showrunning is something. I think that's obviously happens a lot in the US and doesn't happen here as much. You don't really have a showrunner, but that's been brought in quite a lot recently. And I know they brought in an American to showrun a comedy show over here just to sort of see if it works. That was My Family, wasn't it? Yeah. And it seemed to work because it went for series and series and series.
As I understand it, that was one of the first real attempts to do an American-style writer's room in the UK. I think. So he didn't just showrun it. I think it was written like that as well.
Yeah. So it might be happening. Like we say, we only have the experience of the shows we've worked on. So we'll get back to you.
Yeah. Well, it actually was interesting. One writer I interviewed worked for years just exporting to other countries. So he would go to Russia and he would show them how to set up a writer's room for, I think it was Married with Children. And it was the format was being exported to different countries, but they had no idea how to run the room. So he would go there, run the room for a year, make sure that they knew what they were doing. Then he'd go to the next country and show them how to do it.
Oh. That sounds fun. You get to see a bit of the world, don't you? Although you're probably locked in a writer's room. You may be in Russia with a bunch of smelly writers. It doesn't make any so that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I read a lot about, with Saturday Night Live, I've read quite a lot of autobiographies of people that started on SNL. Yeah. And they just talk about how people wee into jars quite a lot and stuff like that.
Really?
I know, I thought it was only you that did that. But it's not quite...
We said we wouldn't talk about that.
Right. But, no, that does sound fun. I think that quite appeals to me, the kind of group table writing and stuff. But I think that tends to be something that's in comedy quite
I think it depends. I was just about to say, I think it depends on what you're writing. I could see that working quite well in comedy. And when we write comedy, we're always trying out different gags on each other. We bounce off each other. I'm not entirely convinced you'd write so well in a sort of drama format just in a writer's room. I could be proven right. I've never tried it, but it just kind of instinctively seems like.
Although we had a story meeting about our drama idea the other day with a couple of producers and a script editor, and it was really interesting because we got to places we never would have got to just James and I together.
Oh yeah, sorry. I mean, I don't mean that you shouldn't have story meetings.
No, but
I just mean the actual script writing process when you sit down and write.
You can't write that by committee because you can, but it would be difficult because it tends to be that writers tend to kind of, I don't know, I guess not think they're right, but in the sense that I think when we're working together, I'll think I'm right about something, and we can both be quite stubborn.
So they get in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm more like, I'm right.
Yeah. Well, now to be fair, there are showrunners in Hollywood who they barely have a writing room. There'll be a story meeting, and then there will be writers that will go off to write their individual scripts. So it does happen. It's not as common.
Okay.
But speaking about Hollywood, you mentioned a couple of times that you'd be interested in coming and writing in Hollywood. What would you say your long-term goals are?
This is where we discover that they're different. Beginning of the end.
I'm not sure they are. I mean, again, I'm not. I don't have one thing that I'm particularly set upon writing. There's a whole range of things, and I think I've known you long enough. I think that probably. I mean, I'd love to write a feature film. I'd love to write, on an American drama series. I'd love to write an American comedy series. And I think
same, pretty much.
I don't think we'd be particularly kind of distraught to write on any of as long as they're good quality and you have fun. And
definitely,
and it's good work. I mean, I think that's the thing. Is I'm not really fussed about any particular one
Like
type of
genre.
writing.
Yeah.
As long as it's good work and you feel like you're actually producing something worthwhile and it's developing your career. Do you know what I mean?
I think we both have quite eclectic sort of tastes in what we watch and what we enjoy. So it's kind of, I want to do as much, because I think I get really bored doing one thing all the time.
Hmm.
Definitely. Which is why I'm never getting married. But I think that's
I think that's true, though. I mean, and again, I think that comes back to that slight flexibility that it probably makes it easier to work together if you're kind of equally flexible about what you're prepared to do and what you're prepared not to do, and your tastes, and because I've definitely now written things with Hannah that I probably wouldn't have written by myself naturally. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, it's really, really good fun, and it develops me in a writer in ways that I wouldn't have probably developed naturally, and that always then feeds back into whatever work you do. So
definitely, I think the most annoying thing about being in a writing partnership, particularly a male-female one, is as soon as we go into a room, we have to find a way to say we're not a couple. It's like, as we go in there, we'll kind of be like, I'll be like, so James, God, your girlfriend last night, oh God, was she giving you some shit? And then we'll have to...
It took me years to get a date.
Yeah, exactly, because we're always together. Then you find yourself sort of...
It's just this assumption.
Yeah.
Actually, even when we go into work, into a new writing meeting or something, we generally get asked.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this sort of delicate way, so are you actually together? Or
so annoying.
So, no.
Sometimes I have to vomit. No.
Cool. So, we're kind of getting to the end of the time here, but we usually end with breaking in tips. Now, in the UK, if there were somebody who wanted to write in television, what would you tell them would be the best things to do?
I'd say never give up is the first thing. I know that sounds really kind of cliched and kind of, but I think that's the thing.
You will have to be persistent.
Oh man, we still do. Every day we get rejections, and at the beginning the rejections are harder to take because you don't have anything to sort of weigh it up with.
Yeah, you've got no proof that you're actually not just crazy and throwing things.
So I definitely think sort of, just never really giving up. I remember getting into a taxi and I was talking to a guy, he asked me what I did. I said I was a writer, and he said, oh yeah, I wrote something once, sent it in somewhere and it got rejected, never did it again. And I just oh come on. Like he could have been the next Shakespeare or something, but he just had one rejection. And just really don't take it to heart. And
because I mean, look, you got to remember, I think, that whatever you write, and no matter how good what you write is, there will always be a group of people that don't like that. And it's not because it's not good work, it's just because it's not their thing. So you have to reach a broad range of people, and that's difficult until you get an agent in particular. But there's, you just got to keep on sending scripts out to people, keep on trying.
And keep on writing as well. It's like I look back at some of the stuff that I wrote at the very beginning, and I look at it and I'm just like, what is that? What did I mean? Exactly.
It's maybe your spelling.
Probably. But no, it is. And also, I do look back on things I wrote in the beginning, and I think I'm not surprised that didn't get picked up. Whereas at the time, I was kind of like, what? Why you didn't?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, look, that's worth saying as well, because the first thing that I ever wrote as a script, I knew nothing. I mean, I'd done a course in sort of film criticism and stuff, but I didn't know anything about it. And looking back on it now, it's utter crap. Awful. I'm embarrassed I ever wrote it, but I keep it because it reminds me of what then made me go and learn my craft. Because, I say it's crap. I mean, the raw talent is still me. I'm still the same person, but there was a learning process in how to actually kind of structure something, and the kind of things that a character needs in order to kind of be interesting, at least. And
so I think it's like it is a meritocracy, isn't it? Really, but at the same time, it is. But you've also got to have a bit of luck and a
little bit of luck. Yeah.
I suppose a bit of business sense as well, because it is a business. So you have to kind of be able to sell your product, as it were. And a lot of the time, I think at the beginning, and even when you write things, it's very personal, you know. And if you're writing comedy, you're terrified it's not funny, and, you know. And there will be people that tell you, you know, you watch things on TV and you don't think they're funny, but someone else will be hooting. So it's kind of make sure you find the people that find you funny.
But I mean, I suppose the other thing in terms of, you know, like how to break in, before you even kind of approach people, for goodness sake, do some homework. And I don't mean that in terms of who to send it to even. I mean, go and read some books on screenwriting. Go and take some courses or something. But it's really odd, I think, that people don't do that, because to me that's like just assuming that you can kind of pick up a guitar or a musical instrument and kind of be this virtuoso who can suddenly be paid professionally for it without actually having taken any lessons or even read a book on how you kind of pluck strings. So, and I think, you know, there's just a basic kind of standard in terms of.
I think again, it's practice as well. Like with a guitar, you know, you practice and practice and practice. And I think with writing, you have to practice. And I have to go in like 3 minutes. I don't want to. I feel like I'm the one now saying, should we wrap this up?
Well, you know, actually, we've come to the end of the time, and that's a really good place to end up, because I think especially, I don't know if it's the same in the UK as it is here, but there's a new generation of people coming in who are very entitled and don't.
If you want to see my house, I'm really not.
But in the sense of thinking, I just read a book and I'm in, or I write one script and I'm in, and they forget that there's a long process needed to hone the craft. And so anyway, I appreciate you guys sharing, and it's really fascinating to learn about the process in the UK, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thanks very much.
Nice to speak to you.
Okay, bye. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hosted by Gray Jones, the TV Writer Podcast is brought to you by Script Magazine and ScriptMag.com, the leading source for script writing information in print and on the web.